Hello, Josh. Welcome to the Sell Like You podcast. It's nice to have a big smiling face in front of me. You're either very excited to be here or you're like, it's nearly home time. I don't know which one.
Excited. Of course excited.
The smile of terrify. So, Josh, I mean, we were just having a quick chat before we hit record, and, you know, we met a few months ago now at an AI lunch, which is very topical in the industry, but also for what you do. AI, like, you know, we're 2026, we're looking ahead. What does AI have in store for us? Do you have a crystal ball? Can you tell us what you can see?
So many crystal balls. I think it's a really loaded question, and it's a fascinating question to hear experts explore at the moment, because I don't actually think there's a unified view on what the future holds with this technology. I think there's a whole lot of theories, and there's a whole lot of perspective that some is doom and gloom and some is like abundance and everything for everybody. And there's very few probably sitting in the middle. But I think personally, that's probably where we'll land. I don't know that we're going to be the abundance that everybody is claiming, and it's going to be the thing that everybody can get and access, and it's going to be a beautiful. And I don't think we're going down dystopia path either. I think we're going to find some middle ground, as we always do with technology. But I would argue this will integrate into our lives, probably unlike any technology we've ever experienced. So my only crystal ball probably at the moment is that I think that this is here to stay, and I think it will be embedded in like our lives in ways we probably can't fathom, just because of how powerful it is and how fast it's evolving in terms of its power.
And is that to say then that we should adopt or be more in on AI than we are right now?
I think if you aren't yet, then yes.
Are people not?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Probably my mum and dad.
No, like people.
Really?
Yeah. So I would say probably 80% of conversations I have still people are either only just dipping their toe in or only just think it's a search engine tool or something like that. So I think there's a huge swath of the population that are not yet appreciating it because they're probably outside the bubbles that we live in. Yeah, and they're in their own little bubble doing what they do every day, and it hasn't either impacted them or presented itself as an opportunity yet to improve their life or their work or whatever. So lots and lots of people are still like either on the edge or just like whatever. But if that's you, change that paradigm.
Welcome.
Indeed, change that paradigm and at least start experimenting.
Yeah. Okay, so I remember. So ChatGPT, and again, I want to talk about what is AI, but in a moment. But so I remember ChatGPT comes out, and it was very early, been out for a few. Well, actually, do you know when it came out? I'm going to throw you one.
I want to say like 22.
Like was it December?
I think I've been on it 160 something weeks. Like when you go, give me my metadata, it tells you how many weeks you use it. So I think mine's at about 160 weeks.
Okay,
and I'm pretty sure I was like fairly close,
fairly
to
new.
The beginning.
So if I'm right, I think I was a similar, and it was. I remember we were just about to break up for Christmas, and I remember a client. Ever nimble, I'll name it. I'll name and shame. No, I'll name and support them because they gave me this moment. Yeah. And we were in the boardroom, and I remember Glenn from the team, and he goes, "Have you heard about ChatGPT?" And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "ChatGPT," and I was no. So we're on the big screen, and he types in ChatGPT, and up it comes. And we got it to write as a rap song, right? Very important first use case of ChatGPT. Yeah. And that was it. And I remember going home, and I typed in, write me a sales script, because I was shitting myself. I was like, this is it. I'm over. Yeah. Like this, everything I write and everything I curate and everything I determine. And it wrote, write me a sales script or write me a call script. And it wrote it, and it was terrible. And I went, phew, okay, close screen, away I go. Okay, I went off on my little Christmas break, having a great time. And still to this day, it doesn't scare me. Not an inch. Nothing about AI scares me in the realm of what I do. And I think I'm always amazed by other things it can do, but I'm also amazed at the stupidity of humans, of how they're using it and what it is built for, what we're allowing it to do, what we're asking for it to do, but what we're taking on board for it to do, to then say, oh yeah, this is acceptable. Like, we're going to go ahead and do that. And so still today, I still see salespeople that have got fantastic outbound skills getting it to rewrite their emails or rewrite their phone script. Why? it's not going to be better than you. It may have some nuances that we can ask it, but don't ask for it to do the whole thing. So that's been my kind of snapshot journey. But I mean, ChatGPT is what I think we all know AI to be, but that's not it. What is it?
Yeah, so like AI at the moment is large language models. All right, so we have AI, and for me, a large language model is the current iteration of what we all interact with. And that is effectively the entirety of human knowledge in a zip file that you can ask questions and that will give you answers, right? And then we can apply large language models in so many different ways in our world, in our environment. It can be exactly that, which what most people know, which is I'm going to ask a question and get a response. But you can focus that as a tiny brain in so many different applications where that prompt and response environment or action leads to an outcome. But you can trigger it through, I don't know, an email landing in your inbox, right? And then it knows what to do because of that, and it uses its brain to take action and do something with the email. So there's all these applications of a large language model. AI, as a blanket statement, is like machine learning and all these other things chuck in a big bucket, and we've given it a simple descriptive, right? But what we're probably at touch on is that large language model world, which is how all of us are commonly interacting with a brand new tech or relatively new technology that feels superhuman. Like it feels like an insane intelligence. Yeah. So I often, when I'm sort of working with clients and talking to people about this, it's like, it's not that yet, right? In my view, artificial intelligence is 10, 15 years away, probably. Some will say it's going to come sooner, but I don't think we're at the point where we can actually give it that name and call it that and believe it is that. My view is these things are still like little probability engines, right? They're just guessing the best possible answer based on whatever context you've given them or whatever knowledge that they have. So your point about trust and people using it in the wrong way fascinates me. People have such trust for it. Don't understand what it actually is. So roundabout way of saying, for me, if you don't already understand large language models, go and explore those, right? Don't talk about those till the cows come home, because that is the fundamental thing that you are interacting with. And if you do get a better understanding of those, they will massively improve everything you're trying to achieve, because you then know how to interact with them.
And that's a bit like now, you know, if we take it into more of a corporate world space, is that, you know, we've got, if I take SharePoint and Microsoft, you've now got the ability to search using Copilot your data. Like, so I can now say, I wrote an article, can't tell you when, but it included something around the topic of this, go find that and then bring that to me. Now, there's a lot of that, and I think for me, I mean, I'm a Microsoft house, and you know, I've always been in Microsoft because of being in tech sales. I think that was just a natural pathway for me, but I don't find Copilot as good as the other systems. So then it's like, well, now I've got to look at something else to then factor in, and I've got to teach that more information, and then therefore, should I be giving that information? And I think, you know, we've talked about this before around the risk of giving extra information or giving it sensitive data, and I guess really, what is sensitive data? If you know, is there a stock standard response to that? But what do you think sensitive data is, and what do you think we need to be mindful of when using other models, or even using like a Copilot and a SharePoint? Should I be using that? Is that super safe? And am I go wild with that versus AI, versus ChatGPT, OpenAI saying don't be as you know, casual with that one. What's your thought? I can't wait for what you're about to say.
So I lack in trust when it comes to large providers of super intelligence offering it to us for free or for cheap. And so that is the catalyst of the journey I've had with this technology, really. When I had my first experience, I was like, oh, how does this evolve? And how does this evolve as it relates to my world, which is consulting and helping businesses grow and all that sort of stuff? And then how does it evolve? How does it impact a business when this becomes a part of how they do business, which was just the natural journey this stuff was going to go on? So we've now gotten to that point where, Copilot, or if you're a Gmail or Google house, you've got the ability to switch it on and it can summarize everything that lands there and see absolutely everything that goes in your inbox. And so there's a big coming challenge around what we have responsibility over from a data perspective within, like, personally and then within our businesses, and then what we're willing to let these large organizations see and do who knows what with, because at the moment all we have is trust. So you can read terms of service till the cows come home, But fundamentally, the same people that created social media and have invaded our personal privacy more so than probably anyone would ever accept if they were told how it was going to unfold, have created the same technology now we're being offered for free or cheap within our organisations. And so for me, that just presents a moment of pause to consider what we do or don't do with it. And so when I go into an organisation and say, cool, how are you using this? Where are you using this? There's that kind of audit or analysis piece first. Everyone should be doing that. If you have a business, if you're a responsible party, so a director or someone like that in a business who has responsibility around that organization, and you don't understand how it's being used in your business, go and do that. If you're an employee in an organization and you have, you feel like a moral responsibility or some sensibility around this stuff, talk about that with your leaders and try to get them to understand, like, what's the risk of me doing this with this stuff, like a tender, right? Like, or IP that your organization holds that you want to use in response to a tender, but you'd love to chuck it in ChatGPT. Like, there's risks abound in that just example right there. So I come back to, I'm a big fan of freedom, personal freedoms. I'm a big fan of like reward for effort and all the things that come with it. And I think IP in businesses is the perfect example of that. As soon as we let that leak, as soon as we kind of a challenge to let go of the things we most protect, the things that make our businesses unique, we're at risk. And I see an opportunity, I'm not saying it's going to happen, for some of these large organizations providing us this technology to leverage that to provide us a service or to help us in some way. And at the end of the day, we live in a capitalist society and they want to make money. Yeah, so it might help us, but it may help them more. Sorry, philosophical too much?
I loved it. And I want to kind of take a couple of steps back. So we're talking about, organizations making a decision and looking at what we're giving them. And like you said, social media, we're all now very particular around social media, but I think we're probably a lot more open with our AI tools. And, there's security, my background, cyber, and that's been, and therefore for me, I'm looking at everything like, okay, well, if I put that in there, will that be okay? And I always look at it, and whether this is right or wrong, I always look at it in that if this was shown to everyone on LinkedIn, am I okay with that? Like, am I okay with people seeing inside for this piece? Because, I would say I'm going to say for the majority, yes. The minority for me would be around the fact that I'm building probably ideas or proposal's not the right word, because we don't do it in that sense. But if I'm looking at presentations or ideas as they remunerate through, they're the things that are there. But I also know, because I've had this conversation with my lawyer around, if somebody took my IP and ran with it, would they be able to use it? No, probably not, because I'm what makes it unique in the way that I deliver it. So I could pass it to you and you could go deliver it, but it wouldn't make sense because it's not your story, it's not your style. So in that instance, I'm okay with that. But when I come back to then saying, okay, I've ticked the box that says don't share my data, right? Am I safe now?
Trust. That's all we have.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah? Because, yes, you can tick the box that says we don't train on your data.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you ask ChatGPT to show it the metadata that it holds on you, the metadata, so cookies in the world of social media and stuff, the most valuable thing. That's why GDPR exists in the EU, right? Because of what they were able to do with the data that they were collecting. So, again, these are hypothetical claims. I'm not saying this is what's happening, right?
Yeah.
But if you let a large AI entity into your organization and it starts to see exactly how everyone in your business does what they do, just from the way they use the tools, that is hyper valuable to them.
Yeah.
And so I think we will see a natural evolution to ads and freemium type stuff, right? Which I think is coming anyway. I think Google announced it today that they're going to do ads next year. And ChatGPT has just hired a massive ads division, like poached them all from Meta. So I think we'll start to see ads dropping in because they know all sorts of information about us. So why not? And then above that could be sort of hyper-specific let's say financial products or products for different industries based on how they see people using the tools. And so there's nothing stopping them, in my view, from further improving their product based on how their users use their product. And so the benefit trade-off piece is probably where we're coming to a like real pinch point, because some organizations might be like, wait, but those things that you're learning are actually what make us unique and what make us special. And you may not necessarily be accessing my IP, but I'd probably call that IP as well. Like, it's probably what we call goodwill when we do a transaction of selling a business, right?
Yeah.
The things that make us special, the way we work. So that's, for me, a risk that a lot of people we're talking to are starting to become aware of and going, is there another path? Yeah, segue into what we're building, which is yes, there is.
Yeah.
But my first point here is an awareness around what may evolve.
Yes. Yeah. And so tell me about what you've built and what you're building and what you're putting into companies and how that differs to what we're seeing today.
Yeah, so HAL is our solution. It's a platform that basically is trying to give someone complete ownership over AI within their organization. When I say complete ownership, we literally mean from like the bare metal GPU environment that is processing things for you. So the data can exist in effectively a zero trust way. It doesn't even have to connect to the internet if you don't want to. It can be just through Ethernets in your office if you're that conscious about security. And the thinking for us was that there is going to be this inevitability of an evolution of the technology to a point where data is their most valuable thing, and there will be businesses going, well, I don't want anybody to see what I do, let alone, say, the defence industry and some of these places. And big end of town can probably invest a whole bunch of money, spin up their own little private data centre, and everything will be okay for them. The rest of the world is going to have a choice. Like, cool, I'll just let Google or whoever it might be, and that's the decision that I've made, and I'm with that vendor forever, maybe. Or is there another path? And so our mission was to create another path. And so to basically use open source large language models, so models where you can literally take the entire model and just run it on a device. So that little zip file I referenced earlier, you download, plug it in, start talking to it, nothing ever leaves that world. So it's not going back to someone else's data center to give you a response, because the power of this tech is that it's like super, super compressed knowledge that we can just start talking to. But then you can also start implementing it within sort of simple software, simple code to do things for a business. And so we've got a couple of layers. We've got the foundational technology that does the processing. You've got the chat GPT world, which is the simplest way of describing prompt and response. And then you have our AI workspace, which is where you can deploy agents. So you can go, I want to watch my emails, or I want to transform this report into something different, and the agents start to get told what to do within your business, within your processes, but in an environment that you have complete control over. So there's nothing else that can get in or out. It's yours. You own that, and you kind of manage that. But you also have the permissioning capabilities, which I think is a challenge for a lot of organizations, where you don't want the CFO's agents available to the sales team or to the people that support him. And so you can actually build a really awesome hierarchy around what data sits where, and the accuracy of that data can be managed really, really well as well. So it's not Copilot looking at everything and hoping we get the right answer. It's just look at this. And this model is specifically trained for financial analysis. So you put the model in, does a financial analysis, gives you a great outcome. Versus I want something to do copywriting. So you get a different open source model that's been trained on copywriting, and then you hyper-focus it on that. You might give it 50 examples of how we write, and it starts to look at that only and then give you better outcomes. So our world is about zooming in and creating quality when it comes to using the technology, but ultimately owning everything.
And how does that work in, because then my brain goes like, I'm going to now try to sell this. So
Let's
if
go.
I think of, my box and I've
Yeah.
got it then connected, I know that power is expensive. And so I know that there's been this big shift to co-location and models where I'm in a data center. Can I take the box and put it in a data center?
If you want to, yes,
Yeah?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, you can access it the same way as you access things right now using
Yeah,
cloud.
like a server.
Or however.
I can-
Correct.
yeah,
It
okay.
basically looks like a server in
That's
your
what I picture.
environment.
Yeah.
It's basically that in your environment.
Yeah.
But it can actually also be like located in your office.
Yeah.
If you'd like to
Yeah.
go back to on-prem, right? So think about on-prem servers.
Yeah.
This, in my view, we are going to see a pendulum swinging for at-risk
Stuff coming
industries to going back to on-premise because they cannot afford what they're either being offered from a risk perspective or the costs of actually just using the technology.
Yes.
Right? If you want to pay for a H100 to be on 24/7, it costs you like 250 grand a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go through a data center provider, a H100 costs about 200 grand. So
Yeah.
if you wanted to run that locally, know what you could achieve with it, know the efficiencies you could gain from it, like it's a whole other perspective
Yeah.
on how to leverage this technology.
And then how do I build, so is the, you're mentioning around building your CFO and your copywriter and all that, is that like my GBTs, my custom GBTs?
So it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a level above that, which is where the agent is further fine-tuned and further directed. And so you can build in like true system prompts, do fine-tuning based on your data sets, like actually make it like you. So it's going much further, because a quick way of summarizing this is most foundation models have billions and trillions of parameters, right? So the decision tree is huge. And if you ask it the same question every day, you typically get a slightly different response or some different way of it responding, because the decision tree paths can be different in how it's provided you that answer.
Yep.
Yeah. In our world, small models, hyper-focused, or models that have been trained on specific use cases, you can actually have much more control over. Yeah. And our intention is to move to the point at which you start training models based on customer data as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're trusting the big guys and all the data of human history that they've trained their models on to give us great outcomes, which is great. But if you look at the open source world, more and more people are building a model for a specific use case, trained on specific data to achieve a very specific outcome.
Yeah.
In my head, what we should be doing with this technology is empowering our people in whatever part of the customer journey that they own to replace the boring stuff or the repeating stuff, the task-based stuff that no one wants to do anymore, with a hyper-focused teammate. That's our goal.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that if we take that to the kind of the side or maybe the back a little bit where we think about, our listeners, salespeople. And I said before around what people are doing, and maybe in the wrong category. I don't want to say if it's right or wrong, but I would challenge whether it's the best use. But if I think about some of the great things that they're doing, is they're using it, to pull together research papers, to look at refining proposals, consolidating information, and all of that. And a lot. And I would say a lot of the time, it's not sensitive because it's not a tender. It's not it's stuff that I could find if I really went out and Googled it. I could find it all. There's going to be a nuance of like a couple of bits of intel that I've asked really great questions around, and I therefore deserve the answer. And then I want to maybe keep that to myself. But I feel pretty safe in I've ticked the box and I'm on ChatGPT and it's not something super sensitive. So I'm running that through and I'm building it. And I think the bit of where there's this which is used for every day, and the add-on of every day, the ad hoc use, I'll just see if it can do this for me. I'll just see if I can, let me do this in this way. Versus what you're saying there around building this capability, which is like your little pocket bot of, you're going to get to know me, we're going to get to know each other really, really well. And I've joked with the team, but I think this is real, is that I've been in the tech industry for, nearly 20 years. And I think about, I know so much. I know, and it's all out there, but I know so much. So, the team will say to me, I remember we had somebody came back and they said, the objection was they have a seam, and this was a cybersecurity tool. They said they have a seam, and I was like, that's not even the same realm. But I know what a seam tool is because it's a collation of logs. It's not a DLP solution, so it's not even it's not in the same realm. But I know that because I've been in the industry for 20 years and I've sold both products back in the day. But my team don't know that. So then I said to the team, I was like, maybe I should just create a little bot and it can just walk around with me and it can listen to everything that I say. But I wouldn't want anybody just to do that. I want to own that and I want it to be mine.
Correct.
I guess the risk still comes, though, is that just like with anything, is that if I get hacked, my thing gets hacked.
100%.
So it's, I guess, only as good as your security that surrounds it,
100%.
that's in there. How does it learn? Like, how does it get more information? So you're saying, like now we're on again, I keep using ChatGPT. We're in ChatGPT 5.1 and we're probably on higher than that, but that's what mine told me, yesterday. So, but we've gone from 3 and, and 2, and I'm sure it started at 0. How does your box keep learning?
Yeah, so the key for me is in small model land, so small language models, you probably do not ever need a gigantic foundational model to achieve the outcome that you want to achieve. Yeah. So yes, there are consistent updates from like the world of large language models, but you could probably use a model from 3 years ago to draft your email responses in a pretty accurate way if you've got the context for it to look at. Yeah. So in our world, it's not about overcomplicating things. It's about trying to stay simple. And you don't need the bee's knees to generate simple outcomes. You need focus, context, instruction, and typically a user who's been trained to get the right, consistent, or the best quality outcome. Yeah. That's what you need. That's challenged by the hype environment that we live in, which is here's the best next, here's the best next. Like that's what we're living through from the big guys. They want you to be always
the iPhones.
I mean, that's how we work.
Yeah.
That's how humans are kind of wired at the moment.
Yeah.
But if you come back to the fundamentals of a business and you go work, like you walk into any organization that's been going for, 15, 20 years, they're still doing something that they did 15 or 20 years ago because they're embedded in their way of doing things. And it works totally fine. I would say that this technology is going to be much the same if you implement it in a focused way. Yeah, so that's how we think. So it's pick the right tool, because the tools are out there and the tools are improving. But at the same time, we can get something in place. It can be looking at a knowledge base. You can fine tune things. Once you have all that information, you can plug something else in if you need to. Or if a better solution comes into the market, better model comes into the market, you just swap it out. You can do it instantly.
Yeah. Now, I had a conversation this morning. We were talking about there was an app to do with jet lag, and it was a girl. So a girl reached out to me. It was following some developer work I was looking for, and she did a really strong follow up. So hats off to her. But she just got back from the UK last night. And she was telling me about, that she's got back and she said, how do you do it? You're flying all over. How do you manage it? I said, oh, well, I've done it for a long time, but I set my clock and I make, I know where I'm going. I set a time and I eat appropriately. I don't eat on planes. I try not to sleep unless it's meant to be nighttime for where I'm going and these things. And she said, oh, I downloaded an app, and it was some sleep management app or jet lag time app. And it told her when to sleep, when to eat, when to stay awake. And I said, oh, my friend did that on ChatGPT. And I said, oh, interesting. I said, I wonder at what point will the apps become obsolete because we've just got an AI tool that can give us all the information. Because if we think about all the apps that are on our phone, if I think about MyFitnessPal, and I think about, my Pilates app, and I think about, I'm trying to think other ones that are relevant to this, but, in that realm of, languages or, translation, I just need ChatGPT now, because ChatGPT can track my food. It can tell me what I should be eating. It can tell me if I'm on track. It can tell me a Pilates routine if I want to do it at home. It can give me all of these things, and it can also link to stuff that's free or that is in the right realm. Where's that going?
So, in a personal sense, ChatGPT wants you to be a user.
Yeah.
So it is very, very good at retaining you as a user. In a business sense, I made I think it worked. It was a part of a pitch. I told MD of a financial services firm that Xero won't exist in about 10 years' time. He was like, wait, what? And I was like, well, when you think about Xero, it's a bank reconciliation reporting tool.
Yeah.
Someone will build one of those with ChatGPT or some other no-code solution for the construction industry, because they know exactly what construction industry companies need, and they'll build a Xero for construction. Someone else will build one for lawyers, someone else will build one, and then all of a sudden a whole bunch of people will be like, why am I paying Xero when I could use that one, which is either cheaper or like super specific for me, and someone spun that up. So the evolution of SaaS, as we currently know it, is just going to be completely blown to pieces in the next few years, because exactly what you've described is literally possible across our whole lives. So that whole point I made at the beginning of this, which is like, this is going to integrate with everything we do, that is an inevitability.
Yeah.
It's just time. And so my view is that in our world, when we implant something, when we put our system in a business, we want to be able to evolve to be able to provide them that over time, because I think the technology evolves to achieve it. And it'll be a competition, as always, between someone who just makes it and drops it in the world for free, like the open source land, or someone who makes it and tries to monetize it.
Yeah. Can I share a theory with you? And I've shared this on the podcast a couple of times, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. So I have a theory that AI is it's in this rocket ship mode right now. Like, we are all looking at it, and it's this huge, shoot to the moon. Let's see how far and how fast we can get. I then look at it from a compliance and if I look at AI calling, or if I look at the way that we feed it and what we give it, and some people are doing incredible things that some people are really pushing boundaries or really far over those boundaries, and other people are just dipping a toe. If I think about the cybersecurity world, it took a long time for people to take it seriously, that phishing was happening, that breaches were happening, that people were breaching an organization, sitting there for a year and a half doing nothing until they then exploit. If I think about AI, we haven't seen anything yet. Like, there was a court case, I believe, recently, and they would use the AI information to use against the person, which I thought was fascinating. But we haven't seen a business that's being sued, or a big enough case that's made the news, that's making everybody go, okay, I got to now think about this. And so my theory is that we're on this trajectory. I think something's going to happen that's going to cut us off at the knees, whether it be a moment in time or whether it be for a year or 10 years or whatever. There's going to be some legalization or some secure, protocols around it, compliance around it that we are going to have to meet. And so one of the examples that I give is that, if we look at AI calling, it's unless you are notifying that I'm an AI bot, I don't believe you should be allowed to do it. Just like I can't say I can't record the call without saying, I don't believe the AI should be allowed to do it. But what it's doing is burning trust. It's burning your connection. So I just think, great, you go for that if that's what you want to do. If it worked, I would have a series of bots in my office rather than humans, because although my team are epic and awesome, imagine I could hire 20 more bots, 100 bots, 1 million bots, and they're going to do to the letter what I say to do. Now, that also doesn't work, but if it did, I would love to see that, because we'd start having this army and they'd all look like me, I reckon. I'd all just give them a Harriet face and it'd be super creepy, but I reckon that would be my secret, lol in the back. But coming back to my theory of we're on this rocket ship, there hasn't been an impact. I think there will be. Then there's going to be laws, there's going to be rules, compliance, which is what a lot of people are screaming for right now. And I know there was a big, I can't remember if it was Elon or somebody was like, hey guys, we need to put some rules around this.
Correct.
And so do you agree with my theory? Do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah, I think it's an inevitability.
Yeah. And do you think we're going to get compliant? Because at the moment, all the investment, sorry, I will stop in a minute.
No, you're right.
I think all the investments going into AI is that if you invest all this, and let's say all these people are going, AI call bots, AI this, AI this, AI this, and then they go, by the way, you can't use them because they now have to be within these rules, the investment and the time and the money is now going to come back, they're going to be now out of pocket without a tool that can use them, and therefore they're going to be left with a hole in their business of where this real super smart person, AI, was working, and now it has to go back to being a human. What's your theory on that? Are you on Team Harriet, or are you off the other side?
No, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
So technology change and technology does not and has not ever happened overnight. Many organizations are thinking that that's what's possible at the moment.
Yeah.
And making snap decisions in much the way you've explained, where they're letting the receptionist go because they've got someone offering them a cheap bot that answers phones and does a bunch of stuff for them. A really simple example of someone I've worked with who did that and then got them back in was the fridge never got cleaned out, and so food went moldy, and all these other things that this person did that they had no appreciation of because they were like, I can save some money. That was a massive impact to the organization. I think you're spot on. I think we will have a moment, and I think the moment will be probably so significant that government, who is, in my view, a little bit behind around the world on this technology, will most likely have a knee-jerk reaction to it, and much to what you just described will actually be the outcome. One of our early clients said to me, that will be the moment your phone starts ringing a lot, because the potential is people will have embedded internationally provided solutions which are in the cloud, and in my view the cloud is a very different thing when it comes to this technology, will be the first things to be told, no, you can't use that, or we've got no visibility over cross-border data movement, or whatever it might be that's triggered by that event. Yeah. And so this is that pendulum swing I refer to, where people will appreciate privacy, security, whatever it might be, as a result of something happening, and it hasn't happened yet. Small instances, yeah, I think it was CBA who tried to do a call bot thing, and they fired a team, but then they've hired them back again. There's a bunch of different things that have happened in small little increments. Yeah. So it's trickling out.
Then we had the Deloitte thing, and that was fine because they used AI.
Correct. So it's trickling out there, but there hasn't been a security issue yet.
And that's the one that will get everybody, the security, because that's the bit we all care about.
Well, hopefully.
Hopefully,
yes,
we should.
I'm on your side, and I actually think it's an inevitability. But I also think there's this inevitability around the bubble popping. And I think we are really hype focused and hype driven at the moment. And so I do challenge anyone who's in a leadership perspective using these tools to go, why am I buying so much into this? Is this the right thing for the future, the trajectory? Do we have a strategy? Do we have anything attached to how and why we're using this?
Yes. Yeah? The strategy for how and why. I like that.
Yeah.
I think that, and I mean, I would say my perspective on my experience, I should say, has been that we've done it of like I can write a rap song or I can write a thingy, and I've used it probably more so recently without a strategy. And I think I've only just thought about this now with you posing that question. Is that I've just used it as like my little helper, and it's can you refine that? Can you make that make sense? And I talked to you about an AI email tool that I'm using, and I don't ever take that away because I love it, and because it saves me hours, and my inbox is my very unhappy place, and I'm like, ring me, pick up the phone, text me, do anything, just don't email me, because it's just not somewhere that I enjoy being, probably because it's chaotic, and so I'd rather have an assistant than have an AI tool doing it, because I think it would be more effective. But if I just look at the pure man hours that it takes me to do something in my inbox, if I then think about the strategy, though, I don't have one. I don't have one. What would I need? Like, give me an example of like what would I need to think about from an AI strategy?
First question I ask is, what's the strategy for the business?
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
So then the question is, so how does it facilitate that?
Yeah.
Can it accelerate it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can it facilitate it being there with your people better empowered or better supported to do what you would prefer them to do versus what they're doing in their daily lives because they have to do it?
Yep.
Yeah. And so for me, the strategy around AI should always come back to task focused first.
Yep.
Our people have a whole bunch of tasks that they do. If we either ask them to list them or interrogate those tasks and start to identify what of them this technology can replace, support, speed up, etc., you can then implement a strategy around achieving that. And it might be over 12 months, 24 months, 5 years.
Yep.
But then we pick some prioritization, then we start to go, and then we start to find the best product in the market, and so on and so forth. So if we don't do that, it's a complete shoot from the hip shotgun, and especially from a leadership perspective, you often have no visibility of what's happening. And so I've got people telling me, I've saved 30% here and 50% there in terms of time or efficiencies or whatever. And my first question is, cool, but what if the person who's implemented that leaves tomorrow? Do you have any visibility over how that's been put in place, what tools they're using, anything like that? And you just have to hope a new person is able to meet that fascinating challenge for the person that's running that organization.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by
And is
strategy.
that what then it applies then? Are you liking that then back to the AI piece? Is that if we've got something in every single different model and all these different AI tools helping us do different things, and somebody else new comes in tomorrow and they go, well, what's that for and why do we need that? That's what you mean by having the strategy.
I think this is why most organizations fail with an implementation of the technology because they haven't got clarity around where it should be used, how it's being used, what the long-term benefits of its use are. It's pause. It's taking time. We go on a journey for 3 months with our clients at the beginning of our engagement because you have to take time to understand them, how they're thinking about this, what they're doing with this. And we're not implementing everything in 3 months. We get to the end of that and they've got 1 or 2 things. Then you go on a journey to take the rest of the giant elephant on that you're trying to eat in one bite.
And that's an education journey as well, isn't it?
100%,
for them and
100%,
their team.
The maturity level is nowhere near what you think it is in the market when it comes to just technology broadly. Let alone this technology. So personally, I am excited and empowered by this stuff daily, but I can't be overly that because I scare people most of the time.
So no one's using anything.
I haven't even started doing this yet. So
Okay.
you've got to, for me, you've still got to pull it back, especially with big groups and stuff to the base level. You still have to. People are still learning how to prompt.
Yes. And so funny enough, I had a friend and she messaged me. She's like, do you have any things you can share with me on prompts for ChatGPT? And I was like, no. I was like, how would I feel like it's such a general thing. It would be like saying how would I speak to my team? I don't know. Tell me about your team. What are you trying to do with it? What is there? So is there a fundamental prompting strategy?
Yeah, 100%.
Tell us.
Well, so for me, you start with persona.
Yep.
So with most of these tools, they need to be directed as to the persona that they should be. Or
so is that you're a salesperson, you're a marketing?
Or it could be, what are you if this was the problem? So you can utilize them to achieve what that might be. So persona is important. Context. So
Yeah.
the kind of core context that focuses attention, especially if you're, in the world of ChatGPT and Claude and all these things, providing context or getting them to focus will get you better outcomes. And then, in my view, you've got those two things, and then you go into like prompting.
Yeah.
And actually interacting with it in
Yeah.
whatever way that might be. And that could be code, that could be, written natural language, it could be a voice recording. Like prompting isn't just I'm typing something.
Yes.
Yeah? So people have to think that a prompt is more expansive. It can be more expansive than they're probably ever used to. Right? I will literally record myself talking for 5 minutes, and then that is my prompt. And alongside that prompt has been the persona, because I've already set a project up with a persona, right? And that there might be a bunch of context because there's a whole bunch of documents sitting there. And I know what I'd ultimately like to achieve, because my follow-up to the last step on this is always knowing what you want as an outcome. Because
Yes.
it has no idea.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So they're the kind of fundamentals for me, right?
Yeah.
Like, know what you want to achieve, give it or define or help it understand what the sort of persona it needs to take is. Lots of context. Prompt, like detailed. I think more and more so these days, big models want detail in a prompt, and you'll get good outcomes.
Yeah. And I love that, because I think I chat to my ChatGPT a lot. Voice note. Because
Right.
I do it in the car.
Right.
I will be, especially if I've got an idea, I'll just blah, 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 and then I go, can you just like format that for me and make it make sense? And so often a lot of mine is just consolidation. Like, it's very rarely that I'm needing it to do something very in depth, but when I do, the context is there. Now, there was something I read, and I wish I could remember where this was from, but it talked about giving your ChatGPT a bonus, so offering it. Now, the joke came because it was then saying, I've got it on my phone somewhere, and it said you're the lead marketing or chief marketing officer, and the goal is to achieve this thing. So insert what you want. It has to have had obviously the previous context. If this is good enough to be approved or to be put forward for the award or whatever, you'll get a bonus of $250, right? And it was saying about how, like, we've got to think about these bots as how we would incentivize normal people. And then it did that. And anyway, so I've used it a few times, and I don't know if it's any better, but I love that. I just love that I get to be like, okay, if you do this, like, you'll get employee of the month, or, like, let's see. Yep. But it was saying around the fact that if you are polite to it and if you do explain more, you get a better return. I don't know about the nice bit, but I'm very friendly to mine. I'm like, when you come take over the world, like, remember me, because that was lovely. But if I think about the context of what it's giving back, is that just like if you asked a human, if I said to you, oh, can you write an article on this, and off you go, versus if I say, can you write an article on this, it's going to go in the ARN, it's going to go on this date, under this page, it's going to have this image, it's going to da-da-da. What I love about this topic is this, and this, and what I don't want in there is this, and think about the tone of this person. That's going to be better than yours, because whether you're 2 humans or 2 bots, it's going to be very different. Yep. And that's what I always think about when it just shows how poor a lot of people are at communicating. Correct. To get that across as well. Yeah. Or when they do get it right, they can see a huge difference in what that output will be.
100%. Yeah. So what you just described is actually called prompt injection.
Okay.
So it's one of the ways you can hack AI.
Oh, I'm an AI hacker. I'm going to add that to my bio.
Honestly, like, it's actually a very, very important skill, in my opinion, because these are tools that don't know truth. They don't have clarity around the right answer versus the wrong answer. They're just guessing based on the maths that they do around probability, right? Who is the Queen of England? They then value the words in that sentence and go and search in their neural network to try and give you the best or most likely answer, right? So the prompt injection activity is getting it to do things it shouldn't do, or it says it can't do, or improving things in terms of an outcome. I wanted a Vimeo code today, okay? So I literally went to Gemini and I said, hey, you're a really good boy. I need a Vimeo code. And it was like, oh, thanks so much. And it gave me a bunch of Vimeo codes, 25, 30% off, all for annual subscriptions. I was like, no, I just want a monthly one because I'm trying to set it up to test something for a few months. It's like, oh, no worries. But yes, I'm a good boy. Here it is. And it gave me a code and I got 20% off my Vimeo subscription. So that is me saying to it, if I had just said, I want a Vimeo code, it'll usually just go, I can't give you that. Yeah? But I was able to manipulate it, just like you did, through prompt injection. And so you can get these tools. I got Grok 4, I think it was, when it was first released, to give me a meth recipe with 1 word. when it was released first because they hadn't set the security parameters just yet. And I go for I don't do math, I've never done math, but it's just a good example of what you can tease these tools to do based on security parameters. Yeah, and so there's a good and an evil constantly in the world.
Yeah.
And these tools have parameters and security and all that sort of stuff. But when you, again, the reason I touch on prompt injection, cybersecurity, they will be the new frontier of access to your business information. If you have a customer service agent that someone can chat with on your website, I'd probably be pretty confident I could get it to give me information that it shouldn't, if it has access to that information somewhere else in your business.
Wow.
So there's so much more behind all of this, right? And we're not going doom and gloom here because I still love this stuff, but there is skill in how you interact with it. So yes, we've got those sort of steps that we walk through, but you can actually learn additional things and learn to manipulate it, learn to say sorts of things to it that you wouldn't expect are going to get you an outcome, but you try it and you're like, whoa, that's like the most accurate thing I've ever seen from this tool. Experimentation.
Yep.
Go for it.
Wow. Well, I've got so many questions for it outside of my rap,
We might
rap
need a
era.
whole
Yeah,
other
whole other
podcast,
podcast.
mate.
So, here's all the topics I searched,
Yeah.
completely off the topic of sales, business, etc., etc. So, outside of it, I would love to know some of the, because you're going to have so much insight, but what as take your hat off for the fact that security and integrity and all this sort of data. What's cool? Like, what AI tools are out there should we go look at that are cool?
So deep research
Yeah.
in Gemini is my favorite tool at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they give you the best quality output from a
Yeah.
deep research activity, but in terms of steps to achieve that output, get Gemini to write the deep research prompt for you. So create your prompt first, chuck it in the normal Gemini and say, I want this to become a deep research prompt that I'm then going to put back into Gemini with the deep research turned on to get my outcome. So
What's deep research?
prospecting,
Yeah.
AI searching the internet for you.
So this one can do the spreadsheet of the 700 projects I've got to unpick.
So this one
do
can
that.
pick you, your target customers.
Yeah.
Right? I want to find the 50 electricians in the Bundaberg area in Queensland
Yeah.
that I can approach because I want them to be a customer for whatever reason.
Okay.
And it will go and search that for you. It will
Yeah.
build you a list. It will give you all the information that it can find on the internet of that customer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I need to build a report for my boss because he asked me to research topic X or topic Y and I need to present it to him. It'll just do it all for you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So deep search.
Deep research.
Deep research Gemini.
research within Gemini,
Yeah.
hyper powerful at the moment. All the tools have them. Like
Yeah.
most of the majors have deep research function, but the key thing for me is get it to write its own prompt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I mean, Gemini again, Nano Banana is probably the best image generation tool in the market at the moment. So if you're doing marketing stuff or whatever, if you love a good meme, you can create hilarious stuff really quickly, and
Okay.
the quality is pretty cool. So I think Gemini are probably starting to get to the front of the pack.
Okay.
So that would be my argument there. I have a great app on my phone called Locally AI, which allows you to download small models and run them like offline on your phone. So if you're interested in kind of privacy and that sort of side of things, you can actually run small models without anybody ever seeing what's going to happen, because Apple's foundation within the Apple phone, sorry, I'm an Apple guy, allows you to run completely on airplane mode, whatever you want, a small model on your phone that'll have the entirety of human knowledge sitting in it and give you some awesome opportunities to experiment.
Wow.
So I would also say go download Locally AI and start playing around with small language models.
Yeah. How cool.
Yeah, so they're probably my like two key
Yeah.
things. I don't know. I love Claude.
Yeah.
I don't use ChatGPT.
No, so because Claude they say is a bit more refined, and somebody said it's not as arrogant as ChatGPT.
It's a nice word.
Is that what
Arrogant.
it said?
I was going to say something else, but yeah.
We'll go with arrogant.
Yeah, we'll go with arrogant.
Go with arrogant.
Yeah, so I stopped using ChatGPT
Yeah.
a while ago, and yeah, Claude is definitely my preferred
Okay.
like large
Yeah.
foundation model.
Yeah.
And I mess around with all of them.
Yeah.
But it's definitely the one that works best for me.
Yeah, awesome. And it is that it's what works best for you, isn't it? It's finding something that you trust. Because coming back to
Yeah.
what you said at the beginning is, do you trust it? Where what's your parameters? What's your yes, I'll put this in. No, I won't put that in. And then it's having some fun with some of that. The other pieces around.
Yep.
The one of the use cases that I think may have been touched on at our lunch, if not, it was at another one, and it was somebody that was using Grok, or they called it G-Rock, which I love.
Love it.
I was like, I'm totally calling it G-Rock, Grok, and they were using it to check and analyze
Microaggressions. crypto financials? Something like
No, they're called contracts.
Oh.
Like that, yeah, so contracts.
Interesting.
So they're using it to assess contracts because they're they're a very contractual organization.
that? Okay.
And they're always looking for both sides of the contract. So it's saying,
Interesting.
have we delivered on our contract?
Yep.
If no, we couldn't deliver on our contract because this clause, because this happened on this day, and therefore we couldn't adhere to the contract. So they're using it because they have a full-time legal team,
Yeah.
and so do the organisations that they work with, but they're all trying to find these loopholes within their contracts.
Fascinating.
So they were using Grok, and I was like, wow, okay,
Yeah,
that's
that's
I'd
cool.
never heard of that as being something
Yep.
that you could plug into it to then say, well, this happened on this day, so we couldn't fulfill that day. It's not means we can't be penalised for it because it's within these parameters, but it's making sure that everybody knows that on both sides. Because if they're trying to find, if their internal team of the client you're working with is trying to find the holes all the time, you've got to always be on the upper hand to combat that.
Yep.
And I thought that was quite an interesting way of using AI.
Yeah.
But it's always overseen by a human, and I think that's what it always comes back to, is that wherever we're creating content, whether it be in my world a phone script or an email script or a LinkedIn post or a whatever, is come back to the human element, because we can all see, and hopefully 2026 will give us better outputs when it gives us those bloody LinkedIn posts that have got emoji. Like I know that this was written by ChatGPT or insert other AI tool, but people are still cool with it. And, I think that use it, absolutely, get the data, make sure it's refined, get it to write things, because you might not be as articulate in the way that you want to write, but give it an idea, give it something else, explain how you want it to be used. And when you put it into your LinkedIn post, just change a few things, put a spelling mistake in there, and we'll know that it was all about you.
Exactly. Human in the loop is the fancy word.
Human in the loop.
Yeah, so that's the don't remove the human.
Yeah.
We all put too much trust in these tools. We've got to remember they are literally probability engines.
Yeah.
Yeah, so truth is challenging for them.
Yeah.
So if we just accept, then you get the Deloitte outcome. You get a lot of these things that you're going to start seeing, and you're going to get pissed off customers, and you're going to lose contracts, and all sorts of stuff will occur because a human didn't stay in the loop. They were like, I'm just going to outsource my thinking to this stuff. Cool.
Yeah.
So it's really important. And personally, I challenge everybody to use it as a tool that amplifies intelligence, not replaces your intelligence.
Yes.
Yeah? We should not have, in my head, artificial intelligence taking over. We should have human intelligence amplified by this technology.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great place to finish. So thank you so much for coming. I'll pop the links through to what it is that you're working on and what you're doing in the space, and also a couple of the cool ones that you mentioned for us to go check out and spend hours searching, which is what I'll be doing. I'll be like, here's a photo of my dog, make it look cool. That's the first thing that's going in there. But thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights, and hopefully we won't be back here talking about the doom and gloom of what we've predicted for 2026 or 2027. But go be safe out there. But thank you so much for being here.
Not a problem. Thank you.